Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jim K. Fort Sens Nation podcast. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Steve here in front of the old, and it's perfect at Christmas time. It's really good at Christmas time. The Senators hot stove, and Greg in front of the giant wonder wall of hockey books. How are things, Greg?
Good, thank you, Steven. We should just start playing the Wonderwall song whenever you say that.
Nice.
Can we play that for 10 seconds without having to send somebody a check, or how's that work?
I like that. And I like you got the 76 Canada Cup jersey on, basically.
But yeah, I like that logo.
Strong.
I always like that logo.
Let's jump in because we've got lots to talk about, as we always do here in the Sens Nation podcast. And the first thing is the Sens have a couple of wins in a row as we sit down to record this. What are we, 6 days before Christmas? They come up with a nice, tidy 4-0 win over Pittsburgh on the heels of their victory in Minnesota. And Linus Ullmark with the Minnesota. Minnesota was the disastrous one. The win over Winnipeg. And let's go back and make an edit. No, let's not. I thought that was two pretty good games, though Linus Ullmark gets a shutout, and I think Winnipeg was some good fortune. That was a hell of a bounce they needed at the end of that game with the goalie pulled. But and they got a couple more bounces against Pittsburgh, but that's what they've been kind of projecting. Trust the process. The breaks will come, and the breaks have come in these last couple of games, Greg.
Exactly. They played two really good 60-minute games. Obviously, the game against Pittsburgh was a better 60 minutes. But yeah, they keep doing what they do. You play your game, and you take the result that you get at the end based on whatever happens. You play your game, and you can't argue with it. That they pretty much played their game all year. Like, there's maybe been one stinker or two stinkers. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know there's been one or two where they didn't look great. For the most part, Steve, they played a solid 60 every single night, and they get results when they get them. You're right, it was a bit of a freaky bounce. It was a deflection plus a bounce skip off the ice on the Sanderson game-tying goal with the net empty. But hey, that's part of the game. Get the puck to the top, get it on net, score a goal. It was great. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them because we said this 7 games before Christmas were pretty important. We said 10 out of 14 points was what was required, and they're on pace for that. So good for them. They're looking good going into Christmas with 3 games left before the break. Looking good.
It's so much easier for Travis Green, too. You think about the teaching process, and he's yelling at them, trust the process. Just, you can't get overworked about the results. You have to basically, that's the nature of the game of hockey. There is some good fortune in there, and there are breaks that will sometimes tilt the balance one way or another. But if you, generally speaking, overall take care of the process, then things will eventually work out for you. But if you're going badly, it's really hard to drive that point home again and again and again when you're not getting results. You're not getting rewarded for it. And so I feel like a level of trust that I have for the Sens, that they are trusting the process right now in the midst of adversity, and there's growth in that. Where I'm still not sure, Greg, that I trust them is that they'll continue to trust the process when things get going really well for them. I feel like this team still has an angle of maybe getting it ahead of itself a little bit. Like, we've got it all fixed out, and teams are going to, lie down or something. I don't know, because we're doing so great here. I need to be shown that. They've won 3 of their last 4, which is a good thing. But that was something that I'd seen in recent seasons, whether it's within games or nice streaks. They kind of got away from things with the excitability of doing well.
I think you've got to acknowledge what was lessons from last season, right? This team learned how to play under Travis Green and made the playoffs and trusted the process. And I think that you've seen less and less of what you're talking about here, especially within games. Like, that's the only real test we have, because we haven't watched them win 6 in a row and then see if they can continue to play that way or if they go off on a tangent or not. But within a game, you had a 4-0 game, 3-0 game for most of the game against Pittsburgh, and they stuck with a plan that game. So, I mean, that's really all we have is isolated incidents within certain games where they're up in a comfortable lead and they've stuck to it. Whether they do when they're in the middle of a good long streak, I think they do, because they learned these lessons last season, And I think it's pretty much, it's in their DNA now. It is their identity. They are that team. That's the way they play the game. And good kudos to Travis Green after all these years of desperately wanting to see this team finally have an identity, finally play a certain way consistently night in, night out. We finally have it. So let's not kick a gift horse in the mouth. I think we're doing okay.
Well, certainly I'm not saying that it's definitely going to be a problem. I'm in a believe it when I'm not worried. It's just a believe it when I see it scenario. And they've shown that they can fight through the adversity and stick to the process there. And I'm optimistic that they'll continue to do that if they go on, a 5-game winning streak, that they won't get away from things. But in the past, I've seen them do that, but haven't seen it one way or the other on a consistent basis because they really haven't got on a big, long winning jag. So, the proof will be in the pudding. In the meantime, Linus Ullmark is another one where I'm going, okay, I hope that, that for his sake and the Sens' sake, that he gets on a nice little roll, because entering the last couple of games, this was a goaltender who was not in the top 40 in either goals against or save percentage. And really, when you get down to it, and I put this question to Brendan Bell, and I'm sure you'll agree, it's pretty unlikely the Sens make the playoffs if Linus Ullmark and Levi Merilainen are going to put up the same numbers over the final 50 games that they did in the first 32 games.
Yeah, both of them have to be better. And as of late, Ullmark has been. Merilainen, I don't know, man, he's due to get off the schneid and have a really good game here and put some points on the board. Well, actually, was he not net in Winnipeg?
Oh, jeez.
Right? Yeah. That was Merilainen. But he needs to get consistently. The guy needs to play more consistently. I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing so many more games with Linus Ullmark, is because really they haven't really had a lot of trust. Merilainen hasn't done a lot to foster a lot of trust to put him in the net more often. So if Ullmark's not used to playing that number of games, like we're talking, he's probably projected now to play close to 60, isn't he? So if that's the case, that might be a little bit of a concern down the stretch, because it's not something he's done before. So you really need Merilainen to get going. But Ullmark for sure has turned it around, at least in the last week or so anyway.
3/4 of the games, he's on pace for over 60 starts this year. So it will be interesting to see if he can really get on a good run. And he did that last year. He had a personal 7-game winning streak, for example. It was, it was either good or not very good. There wasn't a lot of in between when it came to Linus Ullmark. And if the team's playing more consistently in front of him, then I think, as I've always said, you show me a defense that's playing great, or show me a great goaltender, I'll show you a defense that's playing great in front of him, is the expression I was searching for there. But, those two things go hand in hand quite obviously. But certainly the Sens, you look at their situation, last year they led the entire NHL with 10 shutouts, I think tied with Winnipeg. And this year on, December the 18th, the Sens get their first shutout of the entire season. And it was only the 4th time all season that the Sens allowed 1 goal or less in a game. So there's work to be done there, but showing signs of progress, and that's good to see. And certainly getting guys back to their normal slotting will help. And it looks like Thomas Chabot will be back on Saturday afternoon when the Sens host the Chicago Blackhawks, because the Sens have sent down Dennis Gilbert. And at the same time, Thomas Chabot is back practicing, and he says he feels great. So really, it looks like Chabot probably will be playing against Chicago, and that helps for a lot of reasons, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It just puts everybody back where they belong. Except maybe there's a bit of an awakening here for Jensen. I don't know if Jensen slots right back in on the second pair and plays with Chabot. Maybe Jordan Spence has done enough to move into that slot, although he's not exactly a defensive stalwart type that maybe you want to play with Chabot. But Chabot's defensive game has improved, that maybe you get away with Jensen there. Maybe get away with Gilbert Spence there. I still like watching Spence play with Sanderson. I prefer that pair out of all of them. But yeah, having Chabot back makes a big difference as to who eats up those chunk of minutes on the left side versus trying to struggle through with, patchwork ideas here and there to make things work.
I occasionally get online and check out the message boards and the forums and the Reddits and things like that. And there was one guy who was on there and said he was a big fan of the show. This show. Yeah, it was nice. Enjoys what we do. But he also referenced my, what did he say? I'm paraphrasing here, but my obsessive hatred of Thomas Chabot.
Yes.
It's not obsessive, and it's not hatred. It's measuring a guy through the lens of an $8 million a year contract. But having said that, seeing the way this ends, slot when Thomas Chabot is out of that lineup in that Jake Sanderson's playing way too much, just as Chabot did years ago with DJ Smith. I don't like to see that. I don't like to see him jumping up over 30 minutes a night necessarily.
Yep.
So Chabot comes back and takes a few of those minutes away, but he also takes minutes away from guys who shouldn't be in a second pairing situation.
Exactly.
Like a Tyler Kleven and like a Jordan Spence, in my opinion. I know you're a bigger fan of Spence than I am, but I'd like to see a reunion of Chabot and Jensen together and see how that goes. I've thought, honestly, I think Spence and Jensen. Jensen has played a lot better, in my opinion, of late, and maybe he's starting to get used to his new reality, part of his body that's actually not what he was born with. I think that he's getting used to that. I think he's improved quite a bit in the last little while, so I think that's, to me, it's a no-brainer. I like Kleven and Spence just fine, but I do not like them outside of the bottom pairing.
Well, I see Jensen's new reality of he's a 5'6" defenseman. I think that if he plays in the top four, or if Spence plays in the top four, in either case, it's probably more of a by default because there isn't anybody else who you would clearly say, yep, this guy's a top four. I don't think that Jensen is anymore, and I don't think Spence, I do love him, as you said, but I don't know that he's done enough that he should play regularly in the top four. He's still a little slight. Defensive side's not the greatest. So I think they really, if they could find something tomorrow and just plug and play, it would be a guy to play second pair right side D. They could find somebody just on the trade market, wherever. I think that's a very high priority for this team.
If you're right about Jensen and he's starting to slide, I mean, you start to look at the big picture. That doesn't look like a very good trade, if you're right.
Yeah.
If they can squeeze another 2-3 years out of Jensen, the trade's fine. But if we're seeing the downward projection of Nick Jensen, and then at the same time you got Jacob Chychrun playing the way he is in Washington as a $9 million a year player, and he's in his mid-20s, and he's going to be playing for another decade, it's starting to look like a nasty deal. But I'm not going to write Nick Jensen off just yet. Like I say, I've seen some good things of late that lead me to believe that maybe a comeback to full-time health or 100% health may be in the offing. So Chabot looks like he's coming back, and for all of you who've been annoyed with me that I've complained about Chabot, again, it's through the lens of an $8 million a year contract. But I do, as someone who wants to see this team do well, he is going to be a big upgrade on what they're trucking out there at the current moment. So, other news. Jacques Martin. You know what? Let's take a time out. Jacques Martin is going into the Ring of Honor. So we'll talk about that coming up. And we'll also talk about the Belleville Senators firing their head coach. Those stories and more coming up after these words. Up on the housetop.
Oh, hey. It's Steve here for Celebrate. I'm just putting on my old school Christmas lights with these obnoxious little plastic clips in minus 30-degree temperature at the top of this ladder 12 feet off the ground. No, I'm not doing any of that anymore. No, sir. Celebrate.ca. I urge you to check them out today.
Celebrate is your permanent holiday lighting solution. So many options. St. Paddy's Day green, Team Canada red and white, orange for Halloween, and the beautiful colors of Christmas. And Celebrate is all controlled from your smartphone.
And Celebrate's installers were absolutely fantastic and professional. I urge you to check them out today. Celebrate.ca. this a wobbly ladder.
Our new sponsor, Steve, the Midas, the 5 locations here in Ottawa and 1 in Gatineau, 4 in Ottawa, 1 in Gatineau, have joined us as a sponsor, and they got a deal on with these Nexen, N-E-X-E-N, Nexen tires, a good mid-range tire, I'm told. And these puppies are on buy 3, get 1 free. Like, that's 25% off, Steve. You can't beat that with a stick. If you're suddenly realizing, oh my God, winter's here and you haven't got your tires yet, you might want to hop into one of these 5 Midas shops. There's one in Orleans. There's one at Bank Street, just south of Heron there. There's one at Bell's Corners. There's one at Bronson, just north of the Queensway. And, of course, Gatineau, as I said. Any one of these spots, get in there, get some tires, buy 3, get 1 free on these Nexens. That's a hell of a deal.
Welcome back to the show. Jacques Martin is going into the Ring of Honor. We've been speculating. Who will the next one be? And the more I thought about it, after the Sens made that announcement, Greg, I don't think there's anybody that I'd put ahead of Jacques Martin when you get down to it.
He's been my choice all along. Finally, it's long overdue. With all due respect to Doc Chow, I think that I think Jacques should have been in there before that. You could even make an argument that he should have been in because of his contributions and his length of time here, that maybe he should have even been in before Brian Murray. But that might be sacrilege to some fans of the Senators. But either way, he belongs there. It's long overdue. I'm really happy. I'm really, really happy with the choice, and I loved the way they chose to make the announcement, too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. They brought in Daniel Offertson, and he and Jacques Martin were on camera. And it looks like they told Jacques that we just want you guys to narrate a greatest Senators moments video. And so they're there reading and talking about, on this date, so-and-so did this and that. And so it was kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, Daniel Offertson says something along the lines of, and in this special moment, which has not happened yet, Jacques Martin will enter the Ring of Honor. And Jacques' like, wait, what? That's news. And I thought it was great. Yeah, I agree with you. It was Jacques, not an easy guy to make smile, but he was grinning ear to ear. He looked like he was really touched, didn't he?
Yeah, you're right. You don't see Jacques Martin laugh or smile very often, but there was a little bit of a smirk there. He was pretty pleased. Just a wonderful man too, and it's long overdue. There's no other best. That's the best way to describe it. What this man did for this franchise, coming in here when they were absolutely abysmal, was Sparky Allison there driving the team into the dirt. Man, that was a bad run. And Jacques taking over, and the next year they're in the playoffs. And the next year they're a top 2, top 3 team in the league. They led the league in offense and defense one year under Jacques Martin. Like this. The guy was amazing. His run here was amazing. The only thing was those stupid blue team year after year after year. If he could have just gotten through 1 or 2 of those things over the years, he would have been here even longer. So good on him. Long overdue. Happy for him.
I don't know if is it long overdue. I mean, he was their coach last year. Maybe the Ring of Honor, maybe they wait till their career's over. And I mean, he was the Rangers assistant coach, I think, just 3-4 years ago, and then got the opportunity in Ottawa. So maybe it was a case of let's make sure that, his coaching days are behind him, sort of thing. But yeah, it did seem, there was a little bit of a layoff there where it might have happened before. But I think we can agree, Michael Landauer, that the Ottawa Senators organization kind of let the Ring of Honor fall by the wayside for a long time, like it was not a priority anymore. So the new regime seems to be putting more emphasis on it. And there could have been some other people, I guess, like Craig Anderson or Jason Spezza, those types of players. But there's nobody better. There's nobody better that they could have chosen. It was going to happen one day anyway. And so, like Jacques said, it's nice to happen while you're still living, too.
Yes.
He joked about that with Daniel Offertson in that video as well. So, congratulations to Jacques Martin. I think that's a great honor for him. The other bit of news in the organization, away from the NHL side of things, that'd be Belleville firing head coach David Bell. We don't necessarily pay too close attention to what's going on down in Belleville in terms of wins and losses, but anytime you hear about a team losing 8 of their last 9, that's when things start to get a little sketchy, and David Bell was removed from his job as head coach. Assistant coach Andrew Campbell ascends to the head coaching job in an interim basis. And were you surprised to see Bell out the door?
I was, for just one simple reason. The record, of course, I don't know what goes on daily. I don't watch them play. I don't know how the development plans are going with certain players, but I can tell you this. With the injuries in the big club, the number of players that have been up here, and that combined with the number of injuries down there, the guy hasn't exactly had an A1 American Hockey League lineup, right? You think of these guys like Halliday's been here, like Sells up and down. Hayden Hodgson's been up and down. And then the injuries down there, you got a goalie out. You got, oh, shocker, look, Tyler Boucher's injured again. There's been all kinds of problems down there that it's pretty tough to ice a lineup in an American Hockey League. Yes, it's a development league, so if you're hiring a guy to be a development coach, then okay, are players developing? Well, they better be developing because they're playing in situations and minutes where they're not used to because of all these injuries and these shuffling guys up and down. So that kind of surprised me. But you're 8-1 and you're 1-8, sorry, in 9 games. It's a what have you done for me lately kind of world, a career that you're in. So that the 1-8 and fired doesn't surprise me, but the surrounding circumstances kind of give you a pause for thought, I guess.
Yeah, being the coach of a feeder club is a difficult thing. I learned that in the early 90s when I was covering the Ottawa Lynx day-to-day as the play-by-play announcer and sitting, going to batting practice and interviewing the manager after every batting practice on game day and then calling the game that night, sitting with Mike Quaddy, the original manager, or Pete McCannon, the guy who led them to their only Governor's Cup title. And they would say the same things. They'd be pulling their hair out because the Montreal Expos would be constantly calling up their best players. And so it's not an easy thing because these guys are there. They're trying to develop, of course, but they want to win for the home, the home crowd and things. But it's a very difficult thing. And I think in the Belleville Senators case, you outlined all the problems in Ottawa and the injuries. But even still, it wasn't a winning hand to start with because of the lack of depth that we've been talking about in recent episodes. This team does not have a lot in the cupboard right now. And the stars that they had, they're tending to go up to Ottawa because of some of the injuries. Even like a guy like Donovan Sabrango, who would have been here, but they tried to send him down, but he got claimed by the Florida Panthers, so he's off the roster. So it was already thin, and between the Sabrango thing and guys getting called up, it just I don't know what coach was going to make that a winning team. But obviously the NHL squad is always privy to an opinion on exactly what's going on down there. And there's also the angle, Greg, of GMs want to hire their own guys. And when Matt Turek took over this past spring, Bulldog?
You got your Hamilton connection.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it was just not just the Bulldog connection, but yeah, certainly Andrew Campbell, he coached for the Bulldogs too. So the Bulldog connection is there, but in general, GMs generally want to hire their own coaches. Steve Staios gave him a 2-year contract along with Ryan Bonus a year and a half ago, and Matt Turek saw the first few months of this season, and it wasn't his guy, and so that probably played into it too. So lots of reasons why this probably went down.
Yep. So it's an interim thing now, but I think they need to come up with something. So either remove the interim tag or hire somebody else, because you can't be running a development program with an interim coach, right? There are certain steps that need to be taken consistently, following the wishes of the parent club as to what kind of players we want to produce. So you need somebody who's there for the long haul, or this guy, if he's interim, he's interim. Get rid of him and bring somebody else in. Yes, that's fine with me. But just have somebody there who's permanent. Somehow or other, get a permanent guy in there as soon as you can.
Longtime NHLer Jay McKee is one of the names that Post Media's Bruce Garriock threw out there, and he's with the Bulldogs too, so that's a possibility if they want a guy with maybe a little more NHL seasoning to him. Andrew Campbell played in the league as well, but not nearly the NHL resume McKee has, and both of them were Bulldog coaches, both under Staios and under Matt Turek. So the Bulldog effect, it's always there, but we'll see how it goes. But tip of the cap to David Bell on a job pretty well done under trying circumstances with the Belleville Senators. Not ideal. Back to the NHL. Brady Tkachuk with an interesting record. I think it was Ian Mendez. This has Ian Mendez written all over it, that he would somehow find out and track this kind of a stat. Ian was always funny in the press box. Maybe he does it now. I'm not sure. Probably not. But when he was a member of the media in the press box after the first period, he would frequently hold a trivia contest among members of the media, and the trivia questions were always insanely hard. But this is a dandy piece of trivia in that Brady Tkachuk set an NHL record this week by getting high-sticked in the face in 5 consecutive games. I think that deserves a round of applause. Well done. Well done. Record breaker Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, crazy. Eh? And as they were happening, like I can remember the first one. I remember the second one. I remember thinking when the third one happened, like, my God, is that like 3 games in a row? Remember the one that got stuck inside his shield from his buddy in St. Louis there. Thomas, was it Thomas? Yeah, and then again and again and again. Every time it happened, I was thinking to myself, yeah, it happened last game and the game before that. This is crazy. Yeah, it's silly, but I don't think that one's actually in the record book, though, Steve. I think it's just one of those on the outside outlier records. I don't think they keep track of that in the real life NHL record book.
No,
yeah,
no.
I think.
But
actually,
somebody's keeping track of it.
I could look it up if you like. Yeah.
I wouldn't think it's an official record.
No. It came out from NHL Stats. I saw the tweet that night, or maybe it was the next morning when it came out. I thought that's pretty cool.
So the Sens in Nick Cousins have the player with the most punchable face, and Brady Tkachuk has the most high-stickable face. So all these random accolades.
There's a band name in there somehow.
Probably is. Other NHL notes before we start to wrap things up here. On the coaching front, Lane Lambert, Seattle Kraken's head coach. An interesting decision by the Kraken PR staff. Obviously, the Kraken are not going very well right now. And I get it. If you're a head coach of a team that is struggling, then you don't necessarily look forward to the session with the media. Well, after a game this week, Lambert held his post-game news conference with nobody allowed in. It was closed door except for one Seattle Kraken employee asking the post-game questions. And that didn't go over very well, I'm sure, with the local media. But just in general, the Kraken took a lot of flack for that. What did you think? Is it a big deal? Is it big? Is it that big a deal?
It is. There's already rules in place where, like, the local guy gets to ask the first 3 questions or the whatever, right? You can think of your days with Dave Cameron when it would be, okay, Creature, go. Creature always had the first 2 or 3, and Gordo, I guess, does most nights too. So there are rules like that, sort of unwritten rules or respect rules. And this was seen originally as, okay, now we're stretching that out, and pretty soon it's going to be even, it's going to get worse and worse. How bad is this going to get where we're not even going to talk to the coach after the game? But the PR department in Seattle, give them credit. They did apologize for it the next day. They released something saying, we made a mistake. We're sorry. It won't happen again. And credit to the reporter. You call him a reporter? He writes for their team website, right? But give him credit. He asked all the other guys, okay, what kind of questions should I be asking? I'm thinking of asking this and this. What do you think? The questions he asked did come from the pool of reporters that were there that they wanted him to ask. So give him credit. Give Seattle credit for recognizing it. But man, whoever made that decision, that's a really dumb decision right from the get-go. Like, what is that all about? It made no sense to me.
Yeah, I didn't. I just a strange decision. But you're starting to see that theme a little bit of controlling the message, and that's the instinct that everybody seems to have these days. I don't know. Maybe it's the Donald Trump effect, because who tries to control the message more than him? So this feels like it pales by comparison. But I don't know. Maybe there's just a new attitude out there among some people around the NHL, and glad to see the organization apologized for it, because you need that transparency with your fan base, with your customer base, And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just bad policy by the organization, but they've apologized for it. So I'm certainly not going to lose any sleep over
The other
it.
thing that comes out of it is Lane Lambert's. This guy's on the hot seat. Like he's in trouble there in Seattle. He might get saved by the Christmas break and make it into January, but he's in trouble. He's on a hot seat there as the coach of the Kraken.
The hot seat is now over for Kevin Adams, though. The Buffalo Sabres general manager is gonzo. I think he's there like 5 years, I want to say, but
Yes.
he was the latest to contribute to the longest NHL playoff drought in history. Not active, in history. It's like 14 years, something like that. And Kevin Adams was shown the door this week. Former Ottawa Senator Jarmo Kekalainen moves in, and I wonder if he'll bring in Mike Babcock as head coach. Huh?
God, what?
I was just messing with you.
Oh, because he did in Columbus. I get it. All right, okay, all right. No, I was shocked when they hired Kevin Adams with zero experience. He'd been managing the Sabres practice facility rink kind of thing. Bring back memories of the Habs when they hired Irving Grunman as their GM, who'd been managing a bowling alley prior. But anyway, Kevin Adams, I was shocked when they hired him. I was shocked when Kevin Adams hired Lindy Ruff. I will be very surprised if Lindy Ruff is behind the bench for Game 1 next season. I'd be completely shocked. Pete DeBoer better start getting ready. Pete DeBoer's going to show up in Buffalo or maybe Seattle or maybe the blue team, Steve. Pete DeBoer better get warmed up because there's a couple openings. But yeah, Kevin Adams, shocking that he was even hired. Shocking that it took so long to fire him. And I doubt the coach survives in Lindy Ruff.
You speak of Craig Berube in Toronto, and he was, after the loss that they had on Thursday night, he was very much putting it on the players. The standard media scrum, and every question was pretty much, and I'm paraphrasing, pretty much answered with, go ask the players, go talk to them. Very critical that they didn't do much in that game, wants more out of them. And that's always a sign that things are going sideways for a head coach, where you're basically calling out your own guys. That, I don't know. Today's athlete does not want to be called out. They never wanted to be called out, but I think we're dealing with a different kind of athlete in 2025. And if you think you're getting more out of them by publicly calling them out like that, I think you're probably going to fail.
I think the bigger message between the lines of what Berube says, after losses, the general theme is, the players aren't doing what I want them to do. The players don't play to the level I need them to play to. The players don't do this. The players don't do that. We're flat. This was wrong. That was wrong. Everything he says reflects, to me, right back on him and his staff. Okay, the players aren't doing that. And then why? Fix it. Get on with it. Figure out what the issue is. Why do they not seem to have any heart? Why do they not seem to play with emotion? Why do they have slow starts? Why is the power play not good? Why is Austin Matthews not scoring goals? Fix these issues, coach. Stop just telling us about them. We can all watch the game and see them. So I think most of his post-game comments, when I watch him, that are after a loss, almost every single time he talks, it's like it could have been prefaced with, if I were a better coach, the players wouldn't do this. And that seems to be what's happening, in my mind anyway. I think the players have turned him out, tuned him out, turned him off. They're not interested in Craig Berube.
And here's the thing about these, as we talk about press conferences again, and coaches having media availabilities and answering the questions, and sometimes answering questions from media members who are talking about strategy and things like that. That must make them roll their eyes so hard. But at the same time, they're prevented from answering in a way they'd probably like a lot of times, because they can answer this or that. They get questions like, why is the power play struggling? Puck's not going in. Obviously he's trying, he's trying to work it out and get everybody doing what he wants them to do. But the overriding answer in a lot of cases could be so simple, but they're not allowed to do it. They're not allowed to say it. How many coaches like a David Bell or a Lane Lambert or even now a Craig Berube would like to answer all these media questions with the simple answer of, we're just not that effing good? we're not a good hockey team. There you go. There's your answer. But you know what that does? That throws your general manager under the bus, and he's the guy who has the power to hire and fire you. So you can't say it. But that's what they want to say a lot of times. They have to come up with these, oh, well, we just have to work hard and bear down a little more and, wish we. Yeah, but the reality is in a lot of these cases, Greg, the team is not that good enough, and the coach can't say that.
Yeah. Reality deals with you swiftly in life, and it's no less apparent in hockey. Reality deals with you swiftly in hockey, too. You take Mitch Marner away, that makes a big difference, makes a big difference on your power play, and you replace him with your refrain, Steve, from years with the Senators. You replace him with a whole bunch of the same guys. The Toronto Maple Leafs had too much of the same guys. Too many of those. Yep, that guy's a good bottom six forward, tough, good in the room, shitty on the ice. Oops, I dropped an S-bomb, Steve. Good in the room, bad on the ice, but he's a great character guy and does a lot of charity stuff and what a wonderful man. And okay, you got like 12 of those, right? Their talent is minimal at best. So yeah, Craig Berube's standard answer, if you put the truth machine on him, would be exactly like you just said. We're just not good enough. We don't have enough talent. We don't have enough depth of talent to rhyme off these 4, 5, 6 game streaks that they need to get back in a race. And I can't believe we've now spent a good 3 or 4, maybe even 5 minutes discussing the blue and white team. My God, Steve, what's happening here?
It's all good. Blue and white is always fair game to talk about when blue and white is struggling. That's my second Joe Namath of the show. And to close it out, Stuart Skinner. We talked about a couple of trades last week. For the big one of Quinn Hughes going to Minnesota, and he's already up over 30 minutes a night there. A crack in the whip. Get out there and ride that guy for all you can in Minnesota. But the other one was a swap of goalies between Pittsburgh and Edmonton, and Pittsburgh ends up with Stuart Skinner. And in one of his first games, maybe not, I don't think it was the first game, maybe his second game, they're taking on the Edmonton Oilers, and Leon Draisaitl gets his 1,000th point. And unfortunately for Stuart Skinner, the entire Oiler team, and there's this one video shot, the overhead camera, where they're showing all the players coming out onto the ice, and Stuart Skinner, who's played with Leon Draisaitl for years, he's suddenly wearing a different jersey. He's 10 feet away from the big mob of Oilers there, and he can't go over and join the fun. I don't know, I just felt bad for Stuart Skinner. I felt bad that he got so much grief in his days in Edmonton, and then this just suddenly feeling like he's totally excluded from the party here.
That was my exact feelings too, Steve. All I could think was, if this had happened a week ago, he would have been in the middle of the scrum with all those guys. Instead, he's got to stand there in his net literally no more than 10 feet away, like they might have been on the face-off dot, and he's in his blue paint just watching it. Oh, I felt sorry for him too. And then how about the Oilers? They make this trade, they get Tristan Jarry, and now he's injured. He got hurt last night too. Like, and I'm not going to say that term. I'm going to say a yo-yo and a roller coaster. The trade was a yo-yo for a roller coaster. 2 up and down goaltenders. I think Edmonton's plan all along was probably to flip out Jarry at some point and try to make an upgrade from there. So they're stuck. Skinner has not looked all that good playing in Pittsburgh so far. Yeah, it's weird trade. Weird trade.
Yeah. Yeah, just one last thought on Skinner while the celebration is going on. It was interesting to see the zero eye contact from either the mob of Oilers or from Skinner himself. It was like they all recognized how awkward this was in this moment, so they both tried to pretend that the other wasn't there. Skinner there sweeping the snow to the corner of his goalpost and stuff. Yeah, nothing to see here. Just this massive mob of my former teammates having this amazing moment, and I'm not part of it. Nothing to see here. Anyway, we shall call it quits there, ladies and gentlemen. We do appreciate, as always, you joining us here on the program. Our website is sensnationhockey.com. That's a pretty good jumping point for everything. You can check out how to link to our YouTube channel for those of you who are only listening on audio, or vice versa. If you're only watching on YouTube and you want to listen to the show while you're out for a jog or something, jogging. Anyway, you can do that. And of course, you can also see our.
I ran for a bus once back in the 80s.
Nice.
The extent of my running.
Participation salutes you, sir. Anyway, we got, you can see all our great supporters of the show. Jim K. Ford, Celebrate Permanent Holiday Lighting, the fine folks at Harding, the fine folks at Midas Ottawa. You can check out. So if you're enjoying the show and you need their services, then why not use those guys? That would be a favor to us. We'd appreciate that. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff at the old website, sensnationhockey.com, including a link to the Hockey News Ottawa Senators site, where I'm the site editor. All kinds of great articles there. You can go there directly through the website, or you can go directly there, thn.com/Ottawa. That's a lot of post-game material.
Very well delivered, though, Steve. That was really good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thanks for being with us, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. And until next time, enjoy your day.
No,
Thanks,
Steve, I want to hear the 3 words. Good night, everybody. What do you got to say?
We'll see ya.
There it is. Good night.
Boom.